Good evening, everyone. Can we kindly stand for the national anthem? After? By the Carib Sea, our manhood we pledge to live. No tyrants shall linger, despots must leave this strand. With haven of democracy, the blood of our sires which harvests. Thank you very much. You may be seated. You know it's going to be a different night when Jules starts singing the national anthem first. On behalf of the University of Belize Prize for Investigative Journalism, we welcome you on the eve of World Press Freedom Day, which is Sunday, May 3rd. Of course, if you follow the news, you know that the media is definitely under a lot of pressure for freedom of speech globally. This is the 4th annual awards ceremony for the prize. We're honoring outstanding journalism that was published or aired between January 1st and December 31st of 2025. The University of Belize Prize for Investigative Journalism seeks to reward courageous and dedicated journalists who watch, chronicle, reveal, and hold to account the people and forces that work against equity, transparency, civility, and good governance in Belize. The prize was designed to show that journalists are vital in any democracy. Their collective role in chronicling the life and times of a nation is crucial to holding those with power and influence accountable and amplifying the voice of the voiceless. This prize began when, in 2022, Holly Edgell and Godfrey Smith talked about a way to encourage and recognize investigative journalism. The Belize Prize for Investigative Journalism was born over lunch at Martha's Cafe overlooking the harbor. The first honorees were awarded one prize of $10,000 in 2023. In 2024, the prize joined forces with UB to become the University of Belize Prize for Investigative Journalism. The prize then expanded in order to recognize 2 additional entries, offering each finalist a $5,000 prize. In this year, the 3rd year, we are again offering the top award of $10,000, and 2 finalists will each walk away with $5,000 as well. Not in cash, but good money. I'd like to now invite Mr. Irving on behalf of the University of Belize to say a few words.
Pleasant good evening. I'd like to send the apologies on behalf of President Vincent Palacio. His aunt turned 100 years at Centurion today, so he's in Punta Gorda celebrating with his family. He asked that I apologize on his behalf and make some few remarks regarding this year's Investigative Journalism Prize. To our distinguished guests, our development partners, members of the media fraternity, colleagues of the University of Belize, friends of the University of Belize, and of course, all present today, good evening. Tonight we gather to recognize investigative journalism as an essential contributor to national development and democratic accountability. For Belize, and indeed the world, to move forward, national policy must be informed by truth, evidence, and the real experience of our people. Good policy does not emerge in isolation. It is shaped by research, public dialogue, institutional accountability, and the courage to examine difficult issues honestly. Investigative journalism plays a vital role in the national process. It brings hidden facts to life. It asks questions that institutions must answer. And it allows for us to be able to examine the soul of our nation. These are matters that influence how we think, how we lead, and how we make decisions. As the national university, the University of Belize has a responsibility to support knowledge that serves the public good. We educate not only for employment, but for citizenship, leadership, and service. This prize reflects that responsibility. I take this moment to recognize and thank the founders of this important initiative, Ms. Holly Edgell and Mr. Godfrey Smith, whose vision has created a platform that elevates investigative journalism in Belize. I also acknowledge the organizers and our partners, in particular, Mr. Michael Lund and the UNDP, for agreeing to substantially support this year's prize. We would also like to acknowledge the Republic of China, Taiwan, for their support, along with the Atlantic Bank, Niche, Aguirre and Company. And of course, Mr. Giovanni Dennis, who will be delivering key remarks today. You have all worked together to bring this evening to fruition and to sustain the prize as a meaningful national contribution. To the finalists, your work stands as a testament to courage, to discipline, and a deep commitment to the truth. You have served the nation through your reporting. And to this year's winner, I extend sincere congratulations. Your work exemplifies the highest standard of investigative journalism in Belize and its power to inform, to challenge, and to inspire meaningful change. May your efforts continue to strengthen our institutions and contribute to a more just, transparent, and informed Belize. Welcome, and may we have a meaningful ceremony. I do wish you a pleasant good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Irving. I'm tempted to call him Chunchi because we're family and that's how I know him, so I have to correct myself. This is the first year also that you notice that the silent partner and co-conspirator with Holly is being mentioned, Godfrey Smith, and I think that's important as well, that we have more people who are definitely more supportive of the role that the media plays. Let me now take a moment to introduce and thank the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, for our prize of $10,000. And I'd like to invite Michael Lund, UNDP Deputy Resident Representative for Belize, to say a few words. Mr. Lund.
Good evening. Thank you, Director of Ceremony, William, the co-founder of the award, Holly Edgell, and Godfrey Smith, who's not here, I think. The University Director of Institutional Advancement, Mr. Egbert Irvin, Minister Dolores Valderramos Garcia, fellow sponsors of this award tonight, award recipients, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. It's a privilege for me to join you in these beautiful and historic surroundings on behalf of the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, as we mark the World Press Freedom Day 2026 tomorrow and celebrate the excellence in investigative journalism in Belize. After watching the awards ceremony last year in a less pleasant surrounding, I reached out to Dr. Palacio to inquire if it was possible for UNDP to support this year's award. I'm grateful for his positive response and for the opportunity for UNDP to sponsor the first prize this year. While we offer the first prize, we honor all the finalists and indeed all Belizean journalists. So why would UNDP sponsor an investigative journalism award? Well, a core mandate of UNDP globally is effective governance. And in Belize, we actually implement a range of governance projects. And across Latin America and the Caribbean, UNDP supports free and independent media as a cornerstone of democratic governance, from strengthening ethical and solution-oriented journalism with the Cabo Foundation to countering misinformation and reinforcing media state-citizen dialogue in countries like Bolivia and Uruguay. Here in Belize, the Investigative Journalism Award is important because it validates high-stakes reporting and honors the critical role journalism plays for a functioning democracy. And I want to pay tribute to the founders of the award, Holly Eckel and Godfrey Smith, for their dedication to an informed Belizean citizenry. A special thanks also to a recognition to the University of Belize for hosting this award. I can think of no better institution for this purpose, as the end goal of a university and of investigative journalism is the same, the truth. As we gather here tonight, we should also, and recognize the journalists of Belize, we should also reflect on the importance of press freedom, which is not an abstract principle, but a living condition for democracy and development. World Press Freedom Day, observed every year on the 3rd of May, was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly back in 1993 as a reminder to governments and to societies of our duty to respect and uphold freedom of expression, as enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I'm sad to note that we're not doing so well globally. Around the world, journalists face harassment, intimidation, legal threats, and economic insecurity. Indeed, World Press Freedom Day is a moment to reflect and remember those who have lost their lives in the pursuit of the truth. According to the Committee to Protect Journalism, at least 129 journalists were killed in 2025, marking last year the deadliest year on record. But please allow me in my special remarks tonight to focus on truth, trust, and democracy, and the importance of the work that you do as investigative journalism in a challenging environment. Because democracy is more than a system of elections and institutions. At its core, it is the quality of a relationship between citizens and between citizens and those who govern. And like any relationship, it rises and falls on two foundations: truth and trust. Truth matters because democracy depends on informed choice. Citizens cannot meaningfully participate in public life if facts are distorted or hidden. When truth is weakened through disinformation, misinformation, or the erosion of independent knowledge, public debate becomes noisy but shallow. People may speak loudly, but they are no longer speaking on the same ground. Without a shared and factual understanding of reality, disagreement turns into division and accountability becomes impossible. But truth alone is not enough. Trust is what allows truth to function in practice. Trust is the belief that institutions will act fairly, that rules will be applied consistently, and that voices, especially those of the most marginalized, will be heard. When trust exists, people accept outcomes even if they may disagree with them, because they believe that the process was legitimate. When trust collapses, every decision is questioned, every actor is suspect, and democracy begins to feel performative rather than participatory. Today, both truth and trust are under strain globally. We see declining confidence in public institutions and digital spaces where falsehoods travels faster than facts. In this environment, democracy becomes fragile. not because people stop caring, but because they stop believing that engagement makes a difference. In Belize, we should be concerned about the level of civic engagement. While Belize scored the highest among all countries in the UN Social Cohesion and Reconciliation Index for English-speaking Caribbean in 2024, Belize also had the lowest level of civic engagement. In this context, investigative journalism is not a peripheral actor. It is a core of democracy's essential safeguards, bringing democratic values to life and spurring civic engagement. Investigative journalism is the practice of pursuing the truth where it is most inconvenient or most contested. It does not exist to amplify power, but to question it, not to inflame, but to verify. By uncovering facts through evidence and persistent inquiry, investigative journalism helps establish a shared factual baseline that democratic debate depends on. It cuts through rumors and rhetoric by replacing speculation with proof. Just as importantly, investigative journalism rebuilds trust, not by asking for it, but by earning it. When journalists demonstrate independence, rigor, and fairness, they model accountability in action. Citizens are more likely to trust institutions when they see that wrongdoing can be exposed and no actor is beyond inquiry. In that way, investigative journalism strengthens trust not only in the media, but in democracy itself. In an age of information overload, investigative journalism also plays a disciplining role. It slows down the news cycle a little bit. It favors depth over speed and prioritizes accuracy over virality. It is especially critical in digital environments where falsehoods spread easily and truth competes with spectacle. And in this case, it's also a paradox that although surveys show that over 60% of the people of Latin America and the Caribbean distrust social media, this same social media is the main source of information. Investigative reporting reminds us that not all information is equal, and that democratic society must distinguish between rumors and verified fact. Supporting investigative journalism, therefore, is not about protecting a profession. It is about protecting a public good. It requires legal safeguards for press freedom, access to information, protection of sources, and investment in an independent media ecosystem, especially in small states and developing contexts such as Belize, where resources are limited and public pressures can be high. Ultimately, democracy depends on citizens who trust that the truth can still surface, even when it's uncomfortable. Investigative journalism helps keep that possibility alive. By defending truth through evidence and trust through accountability, it helps ensure that democracy remains not just a formal system, but a living one. But we must acknowledge that journalism today is practiced under growing pressure, also in Belize. Journalism here faces persistent challenges despite a generally open media environment. We hear of limited access to public information, including delayed or denied responses from government agencies, which can stall or deter in-depth reporting. Resource constraints, small newsroom sizes, and reliance on advertisement in a small market further limits the time and financial capacity needed for sustained investigations. In addition, we hear of instances of political and business pressures that can create a situation of self-censorship. Given these constraints, the award recipients, all of them, that we honor here tonight, not only exemplifies professional excellence, but courage, ethics, and perseverance. Let me conclude by saying clearly, truth and trust are the lively blood of democracy. A free press pursues the truth and builds trust. Press freedom is therefore fundamental for democracy and a common responsibility. So it requires governments that respect civic space, institutions that seek to build trust, platforms that value integrity and scrutiny, and a citizenry who demand truth over convenience. At UNDP, we firmly believe that development cannot be sustained without freedoms, and that a healthy society cannot be built without truth. So in closing, to the awards recipients tonight, your work matters, your questions matter, and your courage matters. Thank you.
Please give Michael Lund a bigger round of applause. A lot to think about and good information for us to chew on. As a part of my introduction, and before I introduce Holly, of course, I'd like to just take a little trip down memory lane. And no, it's not going to be that long of a trip. I don't know if the university does a course in journalism anymore, but Holly's mom did, way back when it was the University College of Belize. And actually, I was one of the persons who benefited from that course, and I wish definitely that we move from beyond just a course to have an entire program dedicated to it, because we definitely need it. And most of the practitioners of journalism, it's because of curiosity and just a passion for telling stories. But as Mike said, Michael Lund, Mr. Lund, it matters. And I think it's something that we take for granted, because in Belize, we always are convinced that everybody knows what is happening. And we can all agree that somebody has a version of the truth. So I think it's important that we learn how to build public trust, through journalism. It's very, very important. And Holly, of course, worked at Channel 5 in the very early days and was the first news editor there actually at Channel 5. So I told you I'd go down history. Doesn't age me, just shows that I did research. No, I lived it. Please give Holly a round of applause, and for her continued dedication to developing the profession of journalism, because it is a profession. Thank you, Holly.
I had no idea what I was doing at age 21 when I was the first news director of Channel 5. Thanks again to Mr. Lund. That was a wonderful, I think, a wake-up call for people who are not aware of some of the challenges that our journalism is facing. I mean, just over in Mexico is one of the worst situations for journalism in the world. And so I think that it's worth considering. In Belize, the pressures and challenges are different, but people who do this work don't do it for love or popularity contests, like I said last year. They do it because they're curious. They have a passion for accountability and justice and learning, and so that's why they do it. I wanted to acknowledge our sponsors, because when we started, we had no sponsors. And now we have these wonderful organizations here basically endorsing the fact that journalism is important, and that is amazing to me. I would never have predicted it. So I want you to give our sponsors a huge round of applause. And if you're here as one of our sponsor representatives, can you please stand? And I'll just put in a plug. Next year is our 5th anniversary, and we'd love to see you back. And even more sponsors there. So thank you very, very much for supporting our work. Again, happy World Press Freedom Eve. And I just wanted to invite all journalists who are here to stand. Whether you are nominated for an award or not, I just want you to stand and be recognized. So please stand. I would include Indira and Marlene in that. Okay. They do this work all hours, every day of the week, and they don't let up. And our examples you'll see tonight of that dedication. So, the ultimate objective of this prize, as has been mentioned, is to recognize the media as an integral part of the nation's commitment to good governance and to develop eventually a certificate course in journalism at the University of Belize. With the continued support of our sponsors and our friends, this first of its kind prize can be sustained for years to come, and the university certificate course can be achieved at some point. So we look forward to seeing you probably here. I don't know, we haven't booked it yet. For our 5th year in 2027. I wanted to tell you a little bit about how the prize works, how we come to these winners. Entrants submit their work from the previous calendar year by January 31st. So as William said, this year we're considering work from January 1st to December 31st of 2025. The prize is open to all media platforms. As Paul and I were talking about, we wish more of the newspapers, radio stations would start to get the fever, catch the wave. So we continue to hope for that to bring more entrants into the contest. Basically, each media house can submit up to 3 entries because we do have judges who are volunteers and we have limited resources, so we want to make sure that we have reasonable amount of work to review. There are always 3 international judges and 1 Belizean judge, and we switch them every 2 years. So we've had now 2 sets of judges. For the criteria that we use, we define investigative journalism as work that exposes, reveals, or explains an issue in a way that has not been previously documented, includes multiple human sources, demonstrates how the issues matter to Belize, include reference to data, public records, and other sources that can corroborate claims and assertions made by the reporter or interview subjects, and demonstrates that the reporter or reporters have made every effort to contact and obtain responses from the named persons in the journalism so that those persons can have the opportunity to respond to claims and assertions. So I wanted to show you our judging panel. I think I have a slide on that one. Yes. So Jacqueline Charles covers the Caribbean for the Miami Herald. Kalila Enriquez Reynolds is our Belizean judge. She founded and is CEO, I want to make sure I have the name right, of a company it's a business news company called Money Media in Jamaica. She's based there. Christopher Saunders is the Director of Sports Communications at the University of Bahamas and a longtime friend of mine. He actually came to Belize with me to do an early training that we did. I think it must have been in 2012 or 2013. And he loved fried jack. That's what he left with. And then Freeman Rogers is the editor-in-chief of the British Virgin Islands Beacon. He's also a member of several Caribbean investigative journalism organizations. So this is our panel of judges. So they're not here, but we can give them a hand. And we provide a rubric where they score each category. They can provide commentary. They have the ability to ask questions of each other, discuss amongst each other. And all of this, of course, is done virtually. And so that is the transparency that I wanted to share about how this prize comes together. So now I think I'm going to turn it back over to William, and we have a keynote speaker who is coming to us live from Jamaica. So.
Thank you very much, Holly. Our keynote speaker, who's joining us via Zoom from Kingston, Jamaica, is Managing Editor of News and Current Affairs at CVM TV in Kingston. Giovanni Dennis has led coverage of national elections and the devastating Hurricane Melissa, and has interviewed key figures shaping Jamaican life. He's a two-time Press Association of Jamaica Journalist of the Year and has earned more than 45 journalism awards in Jamaica and the Caribbean. He's a 2018-2019 Shielding Scholar, a 2018 U.S. International Visitor Leadership Program Fellow, and a 2025 United Nations RAF Fellow. Giovanni is a proud father of 3 beautiful daughters. He's also a lover of rivers, waterfalls, and a frustrated Arsenal fan. Please give him a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you could just indicate whether you can hear me clearly, I would be most grateful if someone could just let me know if the audio is clean and clear and if the video is also clear. And if you're answering, I don't know because I'm not hearing. Just if someone could just indicate. Okay, so I am seeing in the chat that yes, I am good. Okay, let me just quickly add a quick note. I wrote that intro when I was very upset. Arsenal had just lost against Manchester City, and it was felt that we're losing the Premier League now, but we've since won 2 games, leading by 6 points, although we've played 2 games more than Manchester City for the football fans. So I'm a little bit happier right now. Thank you so much to Holly and the team for having me. I'm very happy to be here to share with you. I'm a big fan of the work of journalists from Belize. I think 2 of the last 3 investigative journalism awardees at the Caribbean Broadcasting Union Caribbean Media Awards are from Belize in 2024. I think Dwayne Moody and Rick Romero won, and last year Hippolyta Novello won. These are people who I'm familiar with. So I know journalists in Belize do good investigative work, some of the best in the Caribbean, quite frankly. So the standard of journalism in Belize is quite high. What I'm speaking about more broadly, and you'll see from the title of my presentation, Investigative Journalism in the Digital Era, I want to focus on the ever-changing artificial intelligence era that we have to deal with and how this complicates what we do as journalists. And that's a large part of what I want to focus on. I mean, there are the basics that I'll just touch on as we move along, but I do want to note the issues with just outlining firstly the core principles of our profession and how they're pretty much the same whether across print, radio, or in the digital world alike. So the truth and accuracy, independence, public interest, fairness and balance, depth of journalism, protecting our sources, these pillars guide investigative journalism, whether in print, broadcast, and the digital world alike. In truth and accuracy, we have to ensure that we verify everything that we're doing, especially now in the digital era, and I will touch on that a little bit more. At its core, journalism is a discipline of verification, and that is especially important now. being independent, not taking payola to do or work or any outside influence is also very crucial. Ensuring that our work is in the public interest, being the voice for those who are voiceless, who don't have the kind of platform that we have to amplify their stories. That's something that we have to continue to do. Being fair and balanced in what we're doing, giving an entity or an individual the right of reply, that's something that we have to pay keen attention to, especially in the digital era of AI and deepfakes. That's something that we have to be very pay keen attention to. The depth of what we're doing, because of how pervasive digital media platforms are, along with social media platforms, and how quick and easy it is for people just to get information just about anything online. Depth is especially more crucial in this day and age, because we're fighting against what we call journalism, this need to churn out stories quickly, 2-3 stories each day. Sometimes depth takes a lot more time, and that's something we have to continue to value, especially in this day and age. And of course, we always have to protect our sources. Sources will want to share information with us, but in this day and age where jobs may be on the line, people may be sent to prison for sharing information with us, it's important that we protect our sources. So the advantages of information and doing journalism in the digital age: there are new tools that expand what we can do as journalists. There's the speed of access to information. We can go to a government website, go to an official channel on YouTube, and we can access information, video footage, speeches, access to data that would otherwise take a longer time for us to have access to. The volume of this data is also something that's it's just a lot of information to go through, because it's all there online. And we have tools, AI tools, digital tools that can help us to mine data, to help us to sift through data and organize data online. And there are a plethora of tools that can assist with that. I can say that AI helped me to organize the presentation I'm giving you right now. It's a PowerPoint presentation that I asked a colleague to help me just to kind of organize it, to make it visually appealing, because I'm not physically there with you. And to that extent, as a journalist, I'm okay using AI. AI can also assist with, for example, naming stories. For example, a story I did last year, a documentary that won the award for environmental reporting in Jamaica. The name of it was generated by AI, Driven to Pollute, Cars and Climate Change. To those extent, I'm okay with AI, but then I've noticed in the last 2 or so years, the Caribbean Broadcasting Union asking reporters to indicate the percentage of work or assistance that they got from AI, because if there's more than 25%, then the story can't be allowed to enter. As a journalist, personally, I have an issue with journalists using AI to write their work. I do believe we still need to leave room for that humanness in our stories, the heart that we put into our reports. And so that's something that we are constantly battling and dealing with right now. As an editor, I've noticed it as well. I can tell how some of my reporters write, and I can tell when there's a little bit of AI to help them kind of write the information. And that's something that we're dealing with and grappling with right now. I know, for example, a colleague, Dr. Nadine McLeod, is writing a book on this very issue, looking at how artificial intelligence is changing or how we deal with journalism currently. And so those are issues that we have to be mindful of in the digital age. AI, to that extent, to some extent as well, can be used as a tool. So I mentioned naming the stories earlier, and also helping to organize a presentation like this, for example, even though we input the data. But we have to be careful. The level of what we call deep fake taking place now is a major issue, and I'm going to touch on that briefly. digital sources in action. For this, I'll just give you a quick example. A former Miss World, Lisa Hanna, and she's a former lawmaker as well in Jamaica, used Instagram to announce a business. It gave journalists instant, on the record, a lead story for people, for example, fashion magazines or the Flair magazine in the Gleaner, for example. She's launching her business. That's how digital media helps. Everybody has access to it quickly. But there's also the drawback as well. And just to give you another quick example, a consumer found metal packaged in sugar recently. It's a Jamaican consumer. He bought sugar and there were traces of metal in it, and he just used a magnet to kind of highlight that. And that video, he shared the video of him recording and getting out the metal from the sugar. He shared that online and the video went viral. It forced traditional media to cover the story and compelled regulators to respond, to say what they're doing now. There's been a ban on that company. It's been placed under investigation. The sugar was withdrawn from shelves as well, produced by that company. And so this is how digital media helps in the modern age. These are the benefits of it. But the pitfalls is the deep fakes, issues surrounding deep fakes. And I'm going to share a personal example as well. Unverified information and also journalists being attacked online. UNESCO said recently that 73% of women journalists surveyed reported being threatened, intimidated, or insulted online in connection with their work. So digital media leads to that as well. These are kind of added stress and burdens that journalists will have to contend with, especially if you're doing good investigative work. These are all issues we have to contend with. But let's go a little bit more to the unverified information. A TV station in Jamaica reported on an AI-generated content, and we presented it as a World Bank report. It was presented as fact. This happened to television Jamaica, I think, shortly after Hurricane Melissa had impacted Jamaica. No, the World Bank did not produce any report at that time, and the data that was presented was completely fake. They had to retract the report and apologize, and also the World Bank came out to say that it did not produce any such report with the data that was presented. This is a very real and concerning issue, and it's something that is we have to be mindful of. We have to take that extra mile now to verify the information that we see online. And Television Jamaica, which is a part of the RGR Gleaner Group, is one of the largest media houses in the English-speaking Caribbean, and this is something that affected them recently. Deepfake, I was affected by this recently. This is myself and colleague Andrea Chisholm before I left Television Jamaica, and it generated a promotion or an ad saying that there's some investment scheme where people can get up to 40% returns on their money per month using my voice and likeness as well as Andrea Chisholm's, and it was going viral online. We had to put out a video saying, no, this is actually fake, and we did not put this out. The Bank of Jamaica also had to put out something on this, and this is something that we have to be mindful of. Deepfakes, AI generated synthetic video and audio that realistically replace a person's likeness or voice and making fabricated content appear genuine. Again, 15, 20 years ago, these weren't issues that journalists had to contend with. So it's now an issue for the journalist in the modern era. And of course, I shared the example. So it's a challenge for us now. I don't have all the answers and I don't pretend to, but I'm saying this is something that these are issues we have to be mindful of. How do we know what is real online? How do we verify the information that we're seeing online? It's also important the ethical issues that we have to consider in the age of AI and digital media. Transparency and attribution. We should say when AI is used, we should attribute what is generated by AI, because I believe audiences have a right to know. AI can generate false information as well, so we have to double check and triple check information that we're using AI to generate for us. Copyright and plagiarism is an issue that we have to be mindful of. AI tools can reproduce other people's work without attribution, and this raises serious copyright and journalistic integrity issues. Codes of ethics, of course, must evolve. So the codes of ethics in journalism must be updated to address AI use, digital sourcing, and online conduct, because the speed and power of AI can amplify both good journalism and bad journalism. And so ethics remain the journalist's compass where this is concerned. We have to be very honest with what we are doing. Again, we also have to cross-check multiple independent sources, check official records. So sometimes if you're typing something on Google nowadays, it says the information is AI generated and it quotes official sources. We have to double check from the official sources and not just take what is happening or what we get from AI. Also check with eyewitnesses, domain experts to corroborate each other. The website that we claim that we're getting the information from, we have to again cross-reference this and sometimes get professional help as well. One source, especially a digital source, is never enough. And especially for digital content, we have to verify photos, verify videos, social media posts as well. We have to verify. A big issue that came up for us in the hurricane last year in October, Hurricane Melissa, Category 5 Hurricane Melissa, is people using videos that aren't necessarily fake, but were generated from previous flooding that impacted Jamaica. We had to verify. So for example, there was a hospital that was flooded a few months before, medical associates, and people shared video when it happened at the time. Now, during Hurricane Melissa, people reshared those same videos, and a CVM TV got caught. We shared it, but we had to quickly apologize because people called in and messaged us to say, hey, this video came from before. And this was one instance that we caught, and we quickly pulled it offline and apologized on air, both on air and I think on our digital media platforms. It can happen to anyone, because there are people who, I don't know what kick they get out of resharing old videos, but these are issues we have to contend with now when we need information to share and update our audiences, and our reporters can't necessarily go to some of the locations independently to verify. These are issues we have to contend with. Sources who we trust and who we have relationships with, we may have to take information from them and also say that this is user-generated content or third-party generated content, and label it, credit it, and say where we got it from, but also make it clear that we can't independently verify those information. So yes, as far as possible though, and practicable in those situations like an extenuating circumstance like during a hurricane, photos, videos, and social media posts have to be checked with, and they can be checked with reverse image searches, metadata analysis, geolocation, and timestamp verification. And of course, I believe personally that Caribbean journalists, broadly speaking, we need more training in these techniques to see how best we can verify these content that we get from time to time. And of course, we continue to consult primary documents and authority support documents, government reports, financial records, public databases, and direct institutional statements. You know, we don't just work with something that we see reposted or with rumors circulating online, as in the case of Television Jamaica a few months ago. These are important for journalists to just double check and verify with primary sources. The Knight Center for Journalism in the Americas offers free and low-cost online courses that on disinformation, deepfakes, and digital verification, and these aren't expensive. So these are things that we as journalists can use to help us in our work. Here's a quick example. I think about a year or two ago, Buckingham Palace put out an image that was digitally altered, and journalists in the United Kingdom, they spotted it. I remember Reuters said that they wouldn't share the picture of the royal family, and they had to withdraw it, and they apologized, and it was an issue that came up out of it. And we have to ask ourselves the question, would Caribbean journalists have spotted the issue in a picture like this, which again underscores the importance of training to kind of, in a sense, fact-checking something like this? Because these are issues, again, that we wouldn't be dealing with 10, 15 years ago, but these are very real issues now. And so digital literacy training is important for us as journalists. We have to be trained to critically assess digital content. Again, verification first is important. The TVJ AI report incident underscores that the speed should never override accuracy in what we're doing. And again, we have to protect journalists online. I remember some of my colleagues at the Gleaner, they have been attacked significantly by trolls online. These are issues that we have to contend with. And these days, the UNDP official, when he spoke earlier, spoke about pursuing truth even when it's unpopular to do so right now. And that is what the journalists who have been shortlisted here for this very important award are doing. Pursuing truth even when it's unpopular to do so, because in this digital age, people attack you. I found myself personally, again, sharing another story, having to pretty much come offline for more than a year because I did a report on illegal drag racing in Jamaica, or unregulated drag racing that was risky and posed a serious health risk. And the people affiliated with that, they just came at me online heavily, so much so it was hard to digest. And so I just came off social media for more than a year just to kind of breeze that space. And so these are all issues we have to contend with. How do we protect our journalists? And sometimes we also may need physical protection. The company also had to provide security for me for about a week. I had to leave the country shortly after as well. And it feels a lot more intense nowadays because of how pervasive social media is. And so these are issues, again, we have to contend with. The tools change, I will say, we know this, but the mission doesn't. Truth, independence, public interest, fairness, depth, and protecting our sources. And essentially, these are issues we have to contend with now, and especially in the age of AI, verifying what we are seeing online, because it's ever emerging. Just Friday, as I'm wrapping up now in the Jamaican Senate, we passed the amendments to the Cyber Crimes Act, and one of the points made by an opposition senator was that we have to continually amend that piece of legislation because of how rapidly information and AI is advancing and evolving, and we as a country, and especially as journalists, we have to continue to respond because our work is very important. Thank you all so much for having me, and thank you so much for your time.
Giovanni, can you hear me? We'd like to see your face if possible.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you may have been seeing it. Let me just quickly unshare. Stop sharing.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see me. No, I hope you can.
Thank you so much. Egbert here from the university and I were just talking about some of these issues and how we could, perhaps for our 5th anniversary next year, build a seminar, a panel, some discussion points around some of these challenges. And thank you so much for the time that you put into creating that wonderful, I might steal it, presentation. That was really great. Thank you so much. And you know, when journalists are taken in by deep fakes and other false information, that erodes trust. And so it behooves us to stand guard against that. Actually, a recent example of AI that where the reporters are clashing with their publishers. It's actually the same company that owns the Miami Herald. It's called McClatchy, and they own newspapers all over the country in the US. And they are using AI, and they're really butting up against the journalists. And the journalists went on a byline strike, which is basically they said, don't put my name on that story because that's AI. I'm not So what happens then? They're unionized. A lot of reporters in the U.S. are part of a union, and so the reporters across the company withheld their bylines. But then, there may have been a time when owners and publishers would have taken that into account and come to the table and really negotiated. But many of the owners and publishers now in the U.S. are fighting to even stay relevant as newspapers. And so what they're trying to do with AI is generate more and more and more content journalism, as you said, and reporters who are trained to take their time, verify sources, talk to multiple people, do research. That takes time, and time is money to the owners and the publishers, and so there's a clash there that is becoming more of a problem. Does anybody have a question that they'd like me to ask Giovanni while we have him? Everyone's just ready to get their award, Giovanni. They're ready. Well, we'll say good night to you. I hope we get to meet sometime in person, and stay safe, and feel free to keep watching. Thank you. Let's give him another hand.
Now it's time to present the winners and the finalists. First, I'll introduce each semifinalist, and you learn a bit about their entries. I'll do this in alphabetical order by entry titles. The first is Marine Protected Areas Are Everybody's Business. Andre Habet and Marco Lopez, published by Climate Spotlight. I'm going to read an excerpt from the article. Over the course of 6 months, Climate Spotlight spoke to representatives from 6 of 7 of Belize's Marine Protected Areas co-managers to learn more about their job and what they believe it will take to meet Belize's ambitious and contractual goal of expanding its marine protected areas to 30% by the end of 2026. Much of the media coverage of the Belize Blue Bond has amplified a celebratory perspective in coverage by outlets such as the New York Times and Bloomberg, which cautiously endorsed Belize's Blue Bond as a model for other developing countries rich in biodiversity seeking to reduce foreign debts, a mechanism TNC has since deployed in the Bahamas and Barbados. However, those on the ground who spoke with Climate Spotlight shared a much more complex picture. Despite millions of dollars allocated to fulfill the terms of the conservation funding agreement, those on the front lines of enforcement face an incredibly daunting task. They must both sensitize users, primarily fishers and tour operators, and enforce rapidly expanding protected areas. For example, the Sapodilla Keys Marine Reserve has already been expanded 8 times its pre-2020 size.
I will recommend you go and look at that story online because it's truly a multimedia story. They have videos, they have photographs, great writing. Here's what one of the judges said. A well-written and well-researched investigation of much importance to the entire Caribbean. Spending time with the rangers was key in putting a human face on the story. Again, that word, time. The investigation showed the human importance of marine protected areas while also showing the real story behind the rhetoric about them on the global stage. Well done.
Our next story, Stella Maris Child Drowning. Marian Ali, Paul Lopez, Hipólito Novello, Joel Wesley, Daryl Miguel, and George Tillett. News 5, Greater Belize Television. Please, video.
News 5 has obtained surveillance footage tracing the final steps of 6-year-old Gabriel Oriano, an autistic student, before he was tragically found lifeless near the municipal airport hangar. Gabriel wandered off from the Stella Maris school compound just before noon. News 5, along with Gabriel's uncle, visited several places to gather surveillance footage and piece together his last hour. Our first stop was Chunsan on Kelly Street, where a camera captured Gabriel running past the restaurant at 12:46 p.m., wearing his green and khaki uniform. Moments later, a camera at the back of Korea Electronics caught him darting across an intersection, narrowly avoiding a motorcycle. Sadly, his lifeless body was found by the seaside shortly after. Initial investigations suggest he entered the sea and likely drowned.
We went to the school. When we reached the school, nobody no one gave we couldn't answer. We asked what happened to him. Opa Gabriel there, Opa my baby there. Nobody no answer. The principal no answer. All they just tell we that the baby there that traffic here hangar. I want to know why the gate was open, why nobody there the gate, the watch the gate. That what happens because usually somebody there always there the gate.
This inaction has particularly upset Kezia Young, a mother of a child with special needs.
So much people were out there. So much people made it out there watch this sleep while they run Middle Street. And if uno me even care as my society, uno me realize that in our Stella Maris uniform.
Tonight we hear from a distraught parent of a 5-year-old autistic student at Stella Maris, who reveals that her son also managed to leave the school grounds unnoticed just 2 weeks ago.
I did think long and hard about doing this, and I know I did wait a few days, it's like 3 days, to really come out and share my experience.
Principal Canton reassured parents that the school is doing its best despite the tough circumstances. She apologized to the parent for the incident and pointed out another hazard on the school grounds that needs to be addressed.
And the thing is that whosoever was a principal before got a lot of rocks and things all over the place. So that is what he used to climb over.
Immediately we undertook a review of all of our safety features, of our protocols, our safety protocols, our response to these incidents. A part of the tribute, when we open the building, we'll dedicate a special plaque to young Gabriel.
I'll read another judge's remark here. Great investigation with the final moments. Getting surveillance footage is difficult, and even more so in the Caribbean. They tracked down the text messages and the rest of Gabriel's day. A lot of questions for education officials are missing answers. A lot of people should take blame and not just those in the streets. It seems as if there's going to be educational changes because of this incident and reporting.
Our next story, Taken.
The video shows Joe.
Taken, the Budna abduction and the police cover-up. Jules Vasquez, Brian Castillo, and Denver Fairweather. 7 News, a Tropical Vision Limited. Video, please.
The video shows Joseph Budna being chased from Banquitas towards the courthouse and police station. He's pursued by one man while the blue Chevy Equinox, which looks grey in the video, is also on his tail. He then runs across the street to the library where he falls on the sidewalk, and they beat him for 3 minutes. They continue to pound him, all the while he's shouting, making noise. After 1.5 minutes of this beatdown, a police officer strides over from the station. One of the aggressors stands up from beating an unarmed man and casually waves off the responding officer. And the police officer then walked back to the station, sending home a civilian who was also responding. And then, in plain view, in the heart of Orange Walk, 100 feet from the station, the abductors can be seen carrying Joseph Budna across the street. The Equinox, with him inside, then drives off and is later seen driving up stop to get away. This logbook entry in the official SPU diary certifies the handing over of a CZ brand 9mm pistol with 14 live rounds to Detective Constable 476 Barry Flowers on Thursday, August 21st at 9:56 a.m. Flowers, who at that time was listed on the official SPU detail as being on leave, acknowledges receipt of the weapon and signs for it. It happened here at the Mahogany Street substation, where weapons are never assigned to officers on leave. That brings us back to the same deathless question: who could have authorized it?
He had on a white t-shirt, three-quarter pants, and I saw his face, so I can recognize him. Yes, he's the one that had me over. The white t-shirt.
So you're saying that person in the picture identified as Barry Flowers?
Yes.
Are you certain?
Yes, from his face, I can recognize his face.
A Belizean citizen was in Belize. He is now in a Guatemalan prison. It was not his intention to go to that Guatemalan prison, and he has spoken, and he has said what happened to him. A crime has been committed.
Our investigation so far has not revealed that any police officer approached those individuals, and it was shown in the camera footage that only the confrontation were among 4 individuals.
Rosado refers knowingly to the camera footage, but then why did he lie about what is clear to be seen on the video, which is Corporal Choco responding and being waved away by one of the abductors?
I apologize as a director for saying this, but I was also expecting that there would have been nothing in the file. What I was not expecting was that there would be less than nothing in the file, which is really my characterization of what has been put before me.
The video shows Joseph
And here's what one of the judges said. Excellent reporting by the 7 News team. This is what investigative journalism is. The team got the leaked footage and documents and asked all the right questions in a story of national importance. Very well done.
And now it's time to present our prizes. As your name is called, please join us up front to receive your check and to have your picture taken.
We're going to start with the 2 finalists and then reveal the winner at the end.
Finalist team, News 5, Paul Lopez, Joel Wesby, and George Tillett. Yeah, I was just about to say that. Hipólito Novello, Marian Oli, Joel Wesby, Daryl Mogel, and George Tillett. And of course, Paul Lopez. News 5, Greater Belize Television. Greater Belize Media. The next finalist team, Andre Habet and Marco Lopez. Which means our winner of the $10,000 prize comes, let me make sure I have everybody. Jules Vasquez, Brian Castillo, and Denver Fairweather from 7 News Tropical Vision Limited. Give them a big round of applause, please. And I think, based on the list, and of course I want to invite Jules to say, make some remarks, it's obvious that the person that you see on camera is not the only person who works on a story, and I think that's very important to underscore. All right, but please give Jules a round of applause as he comes to the podium to not sing, but say something.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I think that the minister in the Prime Minister's office, Dolores, will appreciate. Dolores Valderramos Garcia, thanks for joining us. I think you will appreciate the George Price version of the anthem I was trying to do. It's a working song. It's not a dirge. We try to keep the anthem fast. I can't. I'm terrible. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. Fair enough. I didn't prepare remarks in the likelihood, but I cannot make my point effectively in a short period of time because I ramble. So I prepared it in case. And first, respect to those, to my colleagues who contributed their report. Both were excellent, and both were searching, and I know a lot of work went into both of them. So respect to you all. Every year we see the quality of work improving, and that's why I want to say thanks, first of all, to the University of Belize and the president of the UB board, Godfrey Smith. He has shown his hand, and Holly Edgell, of course, for creating this award and keeping it funded, which is not easy, because it really gives us our craft respect. I've been doing it for 30 years, and certainly when I started, we didn't have any level of official respect. And William will know that, Indira will know that. And so I really appreciate that for one night of the year, on the eve of World Press Freedom Day, we can say that journalism is important. It has value in this society and in all functioning democracies. And Holly, also to thank you for administering it with such professionalism and high standards. And thanks to the judges for taking the time to look at our work. Every year Channel 7 submits about 10 parts to our story. So I know that it takes a lot of their time, and I can imagine so do the others. So I want to say first, or second, thanks to my team, Brian and Denver, and the rock of our newsroom, who holds firm in many changing tides, Indira Craig, who was kind enough to join me here tonight. You referred to the team, and I want to speak about in a deadline-driven environment, we don't have time. And I give my work to my editor, Mr. Denver, and in these pieces, he does what he does, and he has to do it quickly, within a few hours. And he doesn't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what he's doing. It sounds strange, but we just know the mission. And this strange alchemy between the person who researches and excavates the facts and the one who visualizes it. The old Henry James quote always applies. We work in the dark, we do what we can, we give what we have. Our doubt is our passion, and our passion is our task. The rest is the madness of art. And being in a newsroom, there's a special kind of madness. And speaking personally, for me it has been a tough year, a learning year, even at this stage. Many dangers, toils, and snares have I, my team and my family faced. And in the immortal words of Dave Chappelle, My voice has become more powerful than I intended it to be. But we also have to remember, journalism is not a popularity contest. It is an unpopularity contest. Why is that so? Because to certain people, the truth is unpopular. Mr. Lund spoke about that in his excellent remarks. To certain people, the truth and transparency is toxicity. But to be disliked and maligned by those who murder the truth is an honor, it's a privilege. What did Orwell say? The Ministry of Truth manufactures lies. Journalists tell the truth. But speaking about the work and the profession, I remember Nietzsche. What did Nietzsche say? A long obedience in one direction. This is not a profession. As I said earlier, it's a mission. First, I need to say that this was and is the most important investigation I have undertaken. And forgive me for reciting the details, which I have done so many times. But a Belizean citizen tonight languishes in a Guatemalan jail, the victim of a crime that happened in plain sight, an abduction carried out by state actors, by lawmen. And not one arrest has been made. Instead, we have seen official obfuscation, state-level secrecy, and of course, promotions for those involved. Only the DPP, as you just saw, has been bold enough to say that a grave crime happened. So tonight, while we celebrate journalism, a Belizean citizen is still in that Guatemalan jail. And he's there because his work as a citizen journalist offended a member of the political class. To continue the charade of a state that values the rule of law really puts a lie to our entire national enterprise. It sounds like an extreme statement, but it's the truth. And at some point, we have to tell the truth. Somebody in officialdom, apart from the DPP, has to say, listen, we have to solve this. There's evidence that a crime happened, and we have to get to the bottom of it. But the band plays on. So that's the work. Speaking about the profession, I urge my colleagues, and I know in a small society it is hard, but I urge them to be rude, to ask the outrageous, to interrogate the truth, to offend the political elites, to reject comfortable falsehoods. My colleagues, we are confronted by a secrecy state with its roots deep in our colonial roots of official secrecy. They started building the state in 1981, before we even had a free press, an independent media. Can you imagine embarking on a state-building exercise without one of the pillars of a democracy? So it has worsened in every successive administration, so much so that there is now a parallel state, a secrecy state, where political enterprise and secret deals are rewarded with that catch-all slush fund, campaign financing. Everybody to get campaign financing, nobody knows how much, but let me tell you, it's in cash. We journalists work to unmask it, but we are not winning. The secrecy state is winning. We are not making enough of an impact. We are not frightening them. This prize is a motivation for us to do so. Bob Marley said in one drop, "What make them go on so? I want to frighten them." He waited a beat. "I want to frighten them." This is the urgency with which we must operate. I want to frighten them. So I do not want to fall into the trap of comparison amongst my peers, my colleagues, but into the collective spirit of outrage against the political status quo and the spoils economy that fuels the PUDP. Finally, and I'm finishing now, I begin every day with curiosity. I know nothing except that we must take a stand. I don't pretend to the myth of human objectivity. My long apostleship is only to the best approximation of truth I can find. The Indian novelist Arundhati Roy repeated what had been told to her. Someone once said, "The reason I like your writing is because you write as though they've already killed you. you don't hold back. We done did. Respect and thank you to everyone here tonight. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Give Jules a big, big round of applause. I'd like to invite the other finalists to come forward if they'd like to say something. It's optional. I know Jules might have scared you all, but please feel free to come forward.
I'm not going to be long, and I'm not going to use any of my own words. I am going to read a poem that is in keeping with some of what Jules said. First, though, I do want to expand on something that was highlighted earlier by Michael. Earlier this year, the Committee to Protect Journalists shared that 2024 and 2025 were the deadliest years for journalists worldwide since they began documenting that in 1992. In both years, Israel was responsible for 70% of the recorded deaths, according to the CPJ. In addition to the 264 journalists who were killed, 174 were wounded and 106 imprisoned since the start of the war in Gaza. CPJ went on to share that, quote, more journalists were killed in Gaza in the first few months of the conflict than in the entirety of World War II, Vietnam, or the Afghanistan War, unquote. I therefore invite you to share in 10 seconds of silence with me to commemorate the Palestinian journalists who were killed in their line of duty while under the protection of the Geneva Convention. Thank you. So I'll close in this. It is a poem that will help you consider what remains possible if we are no longer afraid of the dark, as Jules said earlier. Thank you. It is called In Darkness, All Things Are Possible by Athena O'Danner. Realize that we were taught to fear the dark. Consider the seed that splits and unfurls, unseen within the earth. Consider the inside of the egg. Consider the place where the Big Bang exploded. Unknown and generative, darkness is unpredictable, limitless possibility. We are in the habit of learning to fear our potential, but imagine embracing rest and dreams. We learned early to believe in the whiteness of certain magic and light, and blackness of certain hearts and arts. Confronted with the sky and its stars, I must reject this entire premise. Remind me, siblings, to unlearn these bad habits and accept the gifts I've been given. Darkness is free and abundant. There is joy in unfurling from the shadows we were made in. We need only to close our eyes to go home. Thank you.
Paul? And while Paul comes, you know, as I listen to both Jules and Andre, a lot of times when you tell anybody you're going to study English, they think it's a waste of time, right? But words, even though, you know, people may think they have absolutely no value and they're lost in the wind, tonight is a testament to the power of words and the change that they can effect in our lives. Paul?
All right, good night, everybody. I'm going to be short. Thanks for being here tonight. Congratulations, Jules and team, big win. Marco, Andre, congrats as well. Keep up the good job. I know you guys are doing excellent work. And of course, to my team at Greater Belize Media, myself, Marian, we have Hippolito, we have Darrell, George, Joel. So it's a lot of us, right? It shows the teamwork. I'd like to give thanks to God, of course, first and foremost, for giving us this opportunity. To my lovely wife, she understands the rigors of being a journalist better than anybody else I know, because yeah, she just have to put up with me and put up with the work and the schedule, and it's surprising she hasn't left us yet. I'm just kidding. I'm not. If she leaves, I'll be right behind her. So we're leaving together wherever we're going, right? And of course to my CEO, Marlene Cuellar, for steering the ship as the head. She's been doing an excellent job and we appreciate it. This story was really impactful to me and to many. It was a story about a young boy, a child who lost his life. It was a story about a grieving family. It was a story about how an institutional infrastructure failed a child, systematic infrastructure, physical infrastructure. It was a story about how the government itself, through some level of neglect, failed the institution. And it was also a story about us as a society collectively and how we failed that child. And so there was changes implemented institutionally, with systematic and infrastructural changes. But I think there was also that intangible change that came from reflecting on ourselves and reflecting on the response and what we could have done better as a society. So even just for that, I feel as if we won. We crossed the finish line that desperately needed to be crossed. And so thank you all so much for your support, and go GBM.
I like it. You make sure you thank the woman in your life. We're getting ready to close. And of course, we have to, again, give all the journalists in the room a big round of applause. Jules said it's not a popularity contest. However, when you live in a small country, it also means that you give your life over to your community. Everywhere you go, there are stories that people, they see you, they think of a story they want to share. And it's that connection, even though Michael spoke about, there's not a connection. I think journalists, not your exact words, but civic, I can't remember the words that you used, but when you're a journalist, people will always come and tell you stories. There's a lot that happens just by walking the streets every time you do that. And the stories, if you take the time to listen, you don't even have to come up with original ideas. They're right there for you because people are living it. And when you drive, when you navigate society, sometimes you forget that other people are also navigating, but not with some of the things that we take for granted. And I think it's important that journalists be recognized because it's a constant onslaught, of people telling you their stories. And it's not something in a country like Belize that you're rewarded heavily for in terms of money. But I think the satisfaction that you heard being expressed tonight is thanks enough. So please, again, give the journalists a round of applause. Holly?
Let's give our Director of Ceremonies a round of applause. I think it occurred to me that the winners tonight, all the stories have something in common, which is that things happen in plain sight, whether at sea, whether on our streets, whether in plain sight in a public place in Orange Walk, and that sort of social cohesion that you talked about and civic engagement. I've seen cases in Belize where outcry and outrage does change things. I remember I was blown away when I think it was 2016 when offshore oil exploration was a thing. And Belizeans said, oh no, no way. And the media and the public basically formed a partnership and they put a stop to something, so it can happen. I wanted to make a few announcements. Number one, we will be celebrating this award next May 8th. So 8th of May, we're going to steer clear of Labor Day weekend, which we forgot about this time. And then I'm also going to be sending out, and Marlene actually gave me this idea, send out a survey to all the media houses to get a sense of how this prize is working for them, what can we do differently. I know Jules already has some ideas about what to do differently. He shared. Every year he shares them. And, but really trying to spur more entrants from across the media landscape and really recognize each individual entry in a way that does them justice. So very pleased to announce that. Look for that in your email inboxes very soon. I'd love to thank our very distinguished guests, including Dolores Ramos Garcia. It's good to have you. And we've learned a lot. I've learned a lot tonight between all the remarks that people have shared. And just next time, if you see a journalist, give them a pat on the back, buy them a bottle of water. Don't hug them; they might not welcome that. But think about the fact that they do this not for money, not for popularity, but because there's something driving them within to serve the public in this particular way. So we have some treats here, some refreshments, so we hope that you stay and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.
Please join us